Welcome to the Ladies Lounge.
Welcome everybody to the show. My name is Carmen. I got Lina in the building, and we're both literally in our own buildings as we continue to quarantine. But listen, eventually, I just want to get this out of the way. Eventually, we want to have a well-formatted show where we'll have, topics and not just topics, but like certain segments so that you guys know what to look forward to, what to expect. For now, because we just want to make sure we keep up with the content, and we do have great topics with great experiences. This is what we're going to get into. And today's topic is sponsored by HBO's Insecure. I'm just kidding. It's not.
It will
eventually, right? We're going to be doing that.
Yeah, that's the goal.
It all started off because we were having just a conversation and you brought up that you're going to watch that show. I was like, dude, I know. It's my fucking show.
I love it.
And we both were like, we kind of like gave that like, wait a minute, should we talk about that? Because Insecurities is a motherfucker.
It's a real thing. And let me tell you, it's something that I personally have been working on during this quarantine time. Because, as I mentioned last time, it's giving me so much time to just work on myself. And right before all this shit went down, I had bought a book. It's called Insecure in Love by A.P. Collins.
Look at God. Look at God.
I'm telling you, it was like, oh, it's time to look in the mirror, and that's basically what I've been doing. So
is that book about like looking at yourself in the mirror?
No, that's exactly what it is. It's basically like telling you like what are insecures, how they're triggered, how to manage them. Like we'll get more into depth because I've been doing my homework on that. Right. But yeah, like right before all this went down, I had just bought this book, and it really came from analyzing like my last relationship and really just all my relationships, and being like, the common thing has been my personal insecurities, and we all have them, but my personal insecurities and how they have affected my relationships. Now, not saying that my insecurities are the whole reason why things don't work out, but I'm not too proud. Right. It's like I'm not too proud to say I had a part in the situation and how it went down. So right now has been some good time for me to like just dig deep, and understand myself a little more. Ultimately, my goal is to not just come out of like quarantine, but my goal this year from the beginning was just to be happier, and in order to be happier, you have to just kind of accept where you are, who you are. You have to love yourself for where you're at. And, growth is something that is infinite. As long as you're continuing to want to better yourself, then, what better way to do it than to recognize your faults. And we all got some demons we got to fight. So that's basically what I've been doing.
And that's the thing about insecurities, that it comes literally for both men and women. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just bias to one gender. It really is a thing that can come from the way you grew up.
Absolutely.
Insecurities of having daddy issues. Some people having mommy issues.
Mm-hmm.
To you, dealing with relationships that cause those insecurities. It takes a lot for people to realize, and I don't even think it's a specific age, because I've met young people that are so mature, and then I've met older people that are immature. So insecurity also, doesn't knock any age. Like it just depends where you're at, and recognizing that you have those, insecurity traits.
Right. And I guess for me, like, and this is me literally bearing my soul. I have no problem, like I said, saying, the things that I'm working on, the things that I know are going to take some time. But
give it up.
Yeah, I feel like I've always dealt with insecurities, whether it was about my body, whether it was about where I was in life. We had kids really young, so I feel like there were a lot of parts in my life that I missed out on. So I just, grew at a different pace, and being insecure.
Right. You grow up at a different pace when you have a child.
Yeah, for sure. And so like we were 20, I think we were both 20, right? When we had our kids. Right. So, for me, it's like I had different life experiences that, I was married at a really young age, like I mentioned. So for me, my life experiences have come from, unfortunately, just bad things. So it's like from those things, I really had to stop looking at it that way. I had to be like, okay, that happened because it's helping me grow. And
there's also people that cause insecurities, and like, I don't even know, like, do you want to start there? Like, should we start where the insecurities can stem from? Because there's different ways.
for sure.
And there's not just one group of this is what insecurity means. It's like there's different, reasons for it. And so there's the who caused it. There's the that digging into yourself and actually admitting it. And how do you know if you've admitted it? And then you also get people who admit that they're insecure to themselves, and then they can't admit that to the people they're with. And that can cause a strain in the relationship.
Absolutely. So based on the book, one of the first things it mentions, it's like, what are insecurities? And you're right. It can be a lot of different things. Like I said, for me, I feel like I went through this phase in my life where I was very insecure about my body. And until I started to appreciate myself, like, I just lost a bunch of weight recently and I'm feeling good. Like, I'm feeling confident.
You look good.
Thank you. So, I'm starting to like just feel more confident in myself again. And it comes in waves, unfortunately. But, social media has a lot to do with, how I feel sometimes. So anyways, it comes down to like my core values as well. What I saw, growing up as far as like my parents. And I have older siblings, so I'm the youngest out of 4. And all my siblings got married really young too. So I kind of saw this pattern of toxic relationships. And so when I was married and I was constantly getting cheated on and being hurt, I just thought it was normal. I thought that it was, it was just supposed to be that way. So, as I've gotten older, I've realized those were very toxic and not good examples of love. So now my focus is, of course, having a healthy relationship and ultimately having a happy marriage. But yeah, the core values for sure. I think all of us have them. And some of us, were raised in a more healthy environment and some of us weren't. So that's where we have to distinguish, like, how did my environment influence me? Because sometimes it's good, but sometimes it's bad too.
Right. But how do you know that you have, core issues? Sometimes you're just like, you can come from a great family where you think, I did have a good childhood. I got good childhood memories. I remember my parents always being happy. I remember my mom always being there for me. My dad always being there for me. Yet somehow there's people that will have that and still have those trust issues.
Trust issues, like, man.
Right? And it's like, how do you figure those out? Like, it's crazy. But
triggers. That's a good point.
Yeah,
you're right.
Triggers?
Trust issues. Yeah, triggers. Like, for me, these are little things, right? But they are triggers. So let's say when a guy is on his phone and he hides it anytime you're around, to me it's like, what do you I'm
gonna make you know where it came from? I'm gonna totally make a freaking sounder for that. Just be like, trigger every time you mention a trigger, because that is so, like, phones are they can be so good for people and it can be so toxic for relationships. So yeah, the phone. What do you say about the phone?
Yeah, like if they're, when you walk in the room, if they try to like hide the phone, that's definitely a trigger for me. Or if I'm, talking to you and you're completely ignoring me and you're just on your phone, that bothers me too, because I feel like I'm giving you my undivided attention. Why can't I have yours? And people will be like, oh, you're crazy for that. And it's like, no, we all have certain triggers. And for me to voice my trigger I shouldn't be called crazy for it. It should be like, oh, okay. Someone who really cares about you, though, will be like, all right. And this is something I learned from 2 of my married friends. So she let him know going into it. She was like, I have trust issues. And he's like, okay. Gave her a key to his place and gave her the password to his phone because he wanted to make sure that he trusted her.
But then also,
or that she trusted him.
That's a really good way to help someone. But how do you know you're not feeding someone to enable them to be crazy? Because there's people, you know what I'm saying? Like, what if that person is crazy and it's like you're making the wrong choice because you're handing them, like, I'm just feeding to them. You're thinking you're helping them, but really, you could be making the situation worse by
communication.
Them. What is it?
Communication. Like, for me, it's like and this is me saying, because I'm sure, you know, people from my past, because they have been hitting me up lately.
Okay.
So
They be knowing. Oh yeah, and we totally just had a whole episode about it, but that's neither here.
yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, you know, I'm sure, no, I know that I played a part in my relationships, like I mentioned, where my insecurities, you know, caused a lot of problems. And I feel like now that I'm looking back, I'm like, yeah, they did do a lot, you know, to help me out. But at no point did anybody ask me, what will help you? What is it that I can do to help you deal with your insecurities? I feel like, you know, communication is the key when it comes to letting somebody know, hey, these are my insecurities. These are my triggers. You know, this is what would help me, you know, deal with them, because ultimately our goal is to find out what our triggers are and find out how to manage them. Because unfortunately, they're always going to be there.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like, okay, so since we're talking about being triggered, you know, there's certain things that can be a trigger that can be fixed by communication, like you said. But then there's also things like like building boundaries, right? So what one person may consider cheating, the other person won't consider it that. They think you're tripping, right?
Yes.
So then it's like, you got to figure out, again, that goes back to communication, how to establish that the boundaries there and what you're comfortable with and what your partner's comfortable with. Because I'll give you an example. You could be, to me, honestly, a cheat or cheating traits would be my now boyfriend, leaving comments under half naked women's pages, talk about fire, damn, let me hit that. Anything, even honestly, even fire emojis on a half naked girl.
Remember that happened to me before?
Really? Oh yeah, I believe it. This is why you're single. You know what I'm saying? These fools don't know how to respect boundaries. And I feel like these are such common sense fucking errors. You know what I'm saying? But to us, it's common sense. To people, it's not. And then the thing is, like, okay, so to me, that's part of, like, to me, that I consider that you're not cheating, but you're getting there. Because say that person responds to you, what you gonna do? Not say nothing? You were waiting for that response. You didn't leave that comment just so you can walk away from it. You left it as bait. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That is cheating tendencies. To another person, it could be, I'm not fucking anyone. I'm not having sex with anyone. Yeah. It's just a comment, or they also think, it ain't like I'm out there. I'm playing video games at night, so I'm home. So yeah, even worse. Instead of being home and giving me the focus, you're giving this half-naked women the focus. You know what I'm saying?
Girl, yeah.
So that's why you got to establish boundaries. It's so important to communicate that. And then you're not going to get that from the get, right? We understood this because you and I have realized this going into different relationships. You've learned from your past, your previous relationships. So you try something different in this new relationship. You know what I'm saying? And some of the things may work and some of the things don't work, you know?
Right.
Hence why you're single, because it didn't work in some aspects of your past relationships. And I don't say that to knock you, because girl, I've been in a relationship for 8 years, and it took for us to go through some shit that I will eventually get to realize, you know, where I've learned from and where we both have learned from.
Right.
For example, would you consider that cheating? Would you consider your man leaving a comment under a half-naked girl's post with fire emojis?
Well, that did happen to me like a few times with somebody that I was dating like a while ago. And it's crazy enough that when this quarantine stuff started happening, he like reached out to me and he was like, "You were so right. I'm so sorry for ever, you know, making you feel like you weren't worthy."
Go somewhere, Roger. You're lonely. You are lonely. That's what's happening. Like,
something's happening to these men.
Did this just happen?
This literally just happened like a couple weeks ago that he hit me up. He kept hitting me up. So I was like, what do you want? And so I had to like be like, yo, you know, you really need to stop. I've already asked you several times not to contact me. Like, what's up? And so he was like, literally just.
And that's
what
the
do I
thing.
need to do to like make things right? And I'm like, listen, and it wasn't just because of that. It was
Oh,
just,
wait, I know who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about. That
girl,
was
you know,
for
that was
sure.
it.
That was, I will tell you right now, the listeners, she had a absolute like reason to be upset, to feel disrespected. You know what I'm saying? In that relationship. And that's another thing that I wanted to talk about, because I think that's the thing when in relationships that you establish, okay, this is what cheating is, and this is what I don't consider cheating, or whatever. Let's get on the same page. So
Right.
I don't consider that cheating, but for the sake of me still wanting to be with you, I will not do that because I know it makes you feel uncomfortable. Whatever, right?
Right.
You get to that point where you finally come to an agreement. Then comes the loyalty, right? Where how do you dictate? And I know that you have some factors in this. Like, how do you break that down where loyalty is being met both ways?
Man, we were just talking about this. There's a difference. You don't have to cheat to not be loyal, if that makes sense. Like,
Say it again for the people in the back.
Loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. I'm telling you, loyalty is so important in any relationship. I can say this, Carmen, you're one of my most loyal friends. I know that if anything were to ever go down, you have my back,
Right.
1,000%. And so I don't question that. You know, we've been riding together for like, 10 years now. We've known each other for a long time. So to me, it's like, those are the kind of people I like to surround myself with, are the people that got my back no matter what. Right or wrong, they got me and I got them. And, you know, that's how I feel relationships should be. Any kind of relationship, friendship, relationship, whatever, you should have each other's back, no matter what. So that's the factor of loyalty. Huh?
That's the thing in the relationship. The same thing you're saying, right? Like, okay, so you trust me and you know what loyalty is because I've given that to you with actions. I've shown it to you with actions. So when someone says they're loyal to you, what are they not? And then you're like, I know you're not loyal to me because I'm feeling insecure, because I'm feeling like there's something missing. Why is that happening? Is it because you're not feeling secure? Why is he not making you feel secure? Because the loyalty is not there?
I think that definitely has a part of it. And then again, me dealing with my own insecurities and having that open communication with each other.
Right.
I need to learn how to be more honest and say, hey, I'm feeling insecure right now, and I would really appreciate it if, you know, we can discuss how we can figure this out, or just give me the time to just kind of figure that out on my own. Because sometimes I feel like another person isn't going to always understand you and the things that you're dealing with. Sometimes you do kind of have to deal with things alone. And honestly, I'm really happy that I'm having that time with myself right now. Because I'm telling you, like, in the last couple of weeks, 3 exes have hit me up. And I'm like, what in the universe is going on?
But these are all tests for you. You know what I'm saying?
Like, it is.
And while that's happening to you, I also want you to keep in mind that there is room for change, right? So even though
they ain't changed, girl, they have not changed.
there is room for change. You know that these men haven't changed for whatever reasons that you know, these personal reasons that you know, right?
Right.
So for people out there that think like we're shutting down giving second chances, that's not what this means, because I do believe that there's people that do change, but that change has to be actions. They can't be words. It can no longer be promises, because those promises were already broken when you guys broke up, right? So I just think it's important. For instance, the loyalty aspect of the relationship comes with you showing with action that I'm writing for you, you know, in every way. So if a neighbor, right, made me feel comfortable, a neighbor of my man's place, say he lives somewhere else. I'm going to give you a scenario. My man lives somewhere else, right? I go over and the neighbor is like, Miss Parker outside. Hey, Miss Parker, right? But I don't feel insecurities just because I know Miss Parker looks good. Maybe I do. The first thing I'm gonna question is like, your neighbor's good looking, right? Say I have those because I have my own, trust issues, right? Say I have those issues, but I still, now I communicate with my man, and I tell him like, oh, who's your neighbor? And then my man tells me like, oh, that's just Miss Parker. She's been living there for a minute. I mean, yeah, she's good looking, whatever, but like I don't really talk to her or whatever. But say the conversation is like this. I mean, yeah, she comes over from time to time. We smoke out, and it's really nothing big. So you smoked out with her before? I mean, yeah. I mean, it's been there. You know, it's been.
Right.
I was single. She was single. But did you guys ever hook up? No, we didn't hook up. Did you feel like she was liking you? I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I tried, you know. So these are conversations that you're having, but you're asking these questions to just kind of get to know what relationship they had, right? So
Right.
say you tell them, I feel uncomfortable. Is she still coming over to smoke? I mean, from time to time, that's where like the red flags, right? You're like, wait a minute, I'm telling you, I don't feel comfortable with you doing that. And
Right.
he tells me, well, that's my neighbor. I've kind of known her longer than you. If he's telling you this, right?
Right.
And he's telling you, you have nothing to worry about though. I've known her longer than you. And that's why like we're cool like that. I promise ain't nothing going on. I'm telling you, I don't feel comfortable with this. And
Right.
he's telling me, well, you're overreacting and you want me to do something to prove something for you because you want me to prove you're crazy. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to tell her she can't come over anymore. If she feels comfortable with coming over, then I'm like, okay, let's talk about loyalty. It seems to me like you rather protect that relationship than protect my relationship with you. You know what I'm saying? Like it seems like you're protecting her over me, and now you're making me feel uncomfortable because like now it seems like you'd rather fuck me, right? Fuck me, let me feel uncomfortable, but you are okay with her still coming over whenever she wants because you don't want to disappoint her. So where's your interest at really? Is it in me or is it in her? Because even though it's just a neighbor, even though say you guys didn't fuck, you still are choosing to protect her, make her feel secure as opposed to making me, your girlfriend, feel secure. So that's where I would say it's not loyalty. You're not writing for me like I'm writing for you, because if it was the other way around, I'm going to tell my neighbor, yo, you can't come over no more. It makes my man feel uncomfortable. Or even, I don't even have to say that because I don't want to put my man in the spot. I could just be like, hey, you can't come over anymore. I want you to respect my relationship. Boom. That's it. It's done. So if I could do that and you can't do that, red flag. You know what I'm saying? You got to like know where your loyalty stands. And if your man doesn't reciprocate the same type of loyalty that you're giving, there's some major red flags and you have to communicate that with each other.
Yeah, but just to touch on that, because, you know, I've dealt with that. And unfortunately, I think it also comes down to like egos. You know, it comes down to like, damn, like he don't want to stand down. I don't want to stand down. So we're both like, you know, at each other's heads and we're going. And ultimately, I want to learn how to just trust somebody and be secure. Like, not just with, you know, somebody being friends with the opposite sex, but just, I don't know. I just feel like when you really trust somebody, the other person will be like, I appreciate that trust and will do anything to protect it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's really important that both parties, instead of like, imagine if we all just put aside our differences and our pride and something so stupid and small as like me kicking it with somebody would destroy a relationship, and then you end up destroying what could have been the happiest relationship you've ever had and experiencing true love, but you allow ego and pride to get in the way, you know? So it really comes down to knowing what's important to you. You know, what's important to me is my relationship. So I'm going to value that. And, you know, even with like friendships, I feel like there's people that I knew weren't really good to have a friendship with, so I cut them off. I had no problem blocking them and like not talking to them again, because I felt like they were ultimately going to be toxic to my relationship, and the last thing I needed was to have another toxic relationship. So you know, so for me, I think it's really important that we're adults and we say, hey, you know what, let's put our pride aside, let's talk about this, let's figure out a compromise, and let's both figure out what will work for both of us so that we can save this relationship.
Yeah, speaking of compromise, that's key word, because I feel like at the end of the day, like you said, we're both going to have egos. We're both going to stand strong with what we believe in. We're going to try to stand firm and hope that you lean towards my side, or they hope, you know, that you lean towards their side. But when you got two egos and people really feel passionate about something, there is a way that you can come to an understanding for each other, right? Something that makes each other feel comfortable. And if you can't, honestly, I would say that that's a red flag. Like, that's where you got to realize there's something that's not clicking. You know, if we can't make something as simple as communication important between the two of us, like you don't value communication as much as I do, either we fix it or we're going to have to let it go. Because if not, we're going to keep coming back to the same problem every time. And that eventually gets old and you eventually get a strain in that relationship where shit gets old and you start pulling away from each other and then you don't realize it. You can go from having a healthy relationship or a semi like healthy relationship and then it become toxic, even though you got these two good people that are both, you know, they both have good hearts, good intentions. It can become toxic based on the fact that you both didn't try to compromise or didn't try to communicate, you know what I'm saying, to make the relationship work. So it's like there's so much behind it, and I just feel like people eventually you get into like bad habits or getting toxic because you start feeling insecure. And what happens when you start feeling insecure, you start seeking it somewhere else. Sometimes you do it without even trying to, and sometimes you are that good person in the relationship and you're like, I find myself, I'm a good person, but then you find yourself wanting to seek attention from someone else or validation from someone else because your man ain't giving it to you anymore, you know?
Whoop, girl, you just spoke to the choir. I'm telling you, I'm guilty of it for sure. Like as of lately, like I said, I'm feeling more confident in myself. So I'm like, you know, posting myself and I mean, you know, I feel good about myself and the attention that I get from it, I don't even want it. Like I can honestly say I got DMs that I don't even respond to. I'll see them and I either open them and don't respond or I just don't open them at all because that where I'm at right now, that's not what I'm seeking. I just feel good about myself. I feel confident, I feel sexy, I feel beautiful, and that's the key of feeling secure. You know, like I want to feel so secure in myself that I can just walk into a room and no matter who's in that room, I still know I'm beautiful. Not more beautiful than someone else or even less beautiful. I just know that I stand in my own light and I want to be able to feel comfortable in that.
Now, if I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, if you feel that way, which you look great and you do, I feel like you do have this aura to you right now. However, I know that just because you have those things, which is great things to have moving forward in any relationship, you're also not ready to meet someone and connect with them right away.
Listen, in no way, you're right.
So like, how do you know that, you know, because it's easy for, okay, I bounce back. I feel a little more confident now. I think I'm back to my weight where I feel, you know, confident, I'm glowing. And then you get these DMs. What's stopping you from like reaching out, knowing that you are confident enough or you feel strong enough to reach out to these people and realize I can dictate whether this relationship is going to be good or not. You know what I'm saying?
Right now, my focus is the relationship with myself and with God. And that's how I know that any kind of outside attention is not healthy for me. Right now, my relationship with myself and saying, okay, what do I need to work on so that my future husband, because that's the ultimate goal, my future husband can look at me and be like, ooh, she's sexy, she's fine, she's confident, she's secure in herself. Like, that is amazing. That's what I want him. I want my husband to feel like, wow, I have a whole person. And then I want to look at my husband and be like, wow, he's a whole person. And we help each other grow and we help each other through our own struggles. Because listen, like I said, everybody has insecurities, right? And then people have addictions as well, whether it be substance abuse, whether it be food, whether it be sex, whether it be like people deal with, addictions as well, helping each other through that, helping each other through, any kind of struggle. I think that's so important. But ultimately, like you yourself should be seeking how to better yourself. And that's where I'm at right now. And in no way do I feel capable of someone coming into my life and knowing how to deal with that. I just haven't met anybody yet that has been capable of loving me flaws and all. And that's not to diss anybody. Anybody here, put it this way, and I've said this before, anybody who I have dated has been a great person. And I say that because I obviously saw something good in them. So they have been great. However, doesn't mean it was healthy for me. Yeah, it just wasn't, but it just didn't work out for us. And ultimately, I feel like it just wasn't healthy for me. What I know I need for myself is to love myself, flaws and all. And that way, when I meet the right person, I can tell them, look, this is who I am and this is what I come with. And it's a whole package. And I hope you can love me as I am.
And now going back to the insecurities and feeling insecure, and there's, different ways that someone can feel insecure. I think one of the things that we have to remember is, we talked about compromise, we talked about loyalty, we talked about respect, is also realizing that when someone is doing something good for you and they're doing just enough, it's not like, you have to be able to realize that just enough shouldn't be okay. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then you have to dictate what just enough is, right? So, you look back, you don't want to make the mistake of like looking back at your relationship after you guys broke up and be like, man, I was just settling for like the littlest shit he was doing for me. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to do that. So how do you come to that conclusion? Are you fully happy with yourself? Obviously not. If you're feeling that there's some sort of insecurities, there's something there. Whatever it is has to be addressed, and you have to talk to that partner about like, hey, you coming to fuck me twice a week or whatever isn't gonna cut it. Like, you have to take me out to eat, or you gotta build with me, build memories with me. Fucking anybody can give me that,
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's how you start feeling, not feeling, but building insecurities with yourself too. So it could be someone that's healthy in that relationship and they're both healthy for each other, but eventually you start realizing, well, and then comparing yourself, that's a whole nother subject, comparing yourself to other people. But yourself, like, what makes you feel comfortable? Another thing is, speaking of comparing yourself to other people, it's very, and I think this is from my experience, I'm sure you can say the same, but speaking on your relationship to someone else it can be so toxic, even if it's your closest friends. And I'm saying this, we both have said stuff to each other, but I'm saying like intimate things that should not be disclosed to your friends. And I've learned so much from this in my past relationships that it's made me who I am today, because I failed in that, And I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna throw my mom under the bus a little bit. I've been for my mom, but the reason why I'm gonna throw her under the bus is because she tells me all the time. She tells me, learn from me, learn from my mistakes. So mama, I did learn from your mistakes. One of the things I was doing was I would always run to my closest friends to be like, I'm dealing with this and that. He did specifically this, that, and then like you're filling your friends with all this information, and like, fuck him, I'm gonna break up with him, and then 2 weeks later you're still together, and now guess what? Your friends around you who probably shouldn't be judging you are gonna feel a certain way about him because they know he was already treating you bad. Speaking your personal issues to your closest friends can be toxic. Just because they're your good friends, just because you love them, and just because you want to have a great relationship does not mean that it's okay for you to talk about some of the most private things, finances, sex life, what he did to you that you weren't okay with, but he corrected. You know what I'm saying? Those things are stuff that you shouldn't talk about unless you've grown from it, and unless you want to help your friend who's going through that. You know what I'm saying? I think that's when you figure out whether or not it's okay for you to say it. But I'm telling you right now, when you go and tell the chisme to your homegirls because you love them and you want them to feed you with good things, it's only going to dictate what you should and shouldn't do in your relationship. And that can be so bad, because you could possibly be breaking up with someone who's actually really good, but you guys just have some flaws in that relationship. But now you're breaking up with them because you have the influence of your friends telling you he's no good, your friends being like, he ain't shit, but your friend wasn't there with you when he picked you up during these times that you needed him to. You know what I'm saying?
I agree 1,000% on that.
Like, those are things that I think is very important, man. If you feel like you're not a toxic person, ask yourself that. Ask yourself, have I done these things that I shouldn't have? You know what I'm saying? Another thing is, like, it's tough to say that because I've been in a domestic violence relationship, which eventually we'll get into. But that was one thing I was keeping to myself. Maybe at some point I should have went to somebody, but I've learned from that. So like now I can tell you, if I've ever been in another domestic violence situation, then I would feel a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Then I would try to correct myself. But with just everyday relationship issues, everybody's going to have them. You just cannot talk about them
I mean, you know firsthand, I keep a lot of things private. Even with my close friends, I keep very, like, just, there's just certain things, like you said, you don't disclose, and, you know, that's the business of you and whoever you're dealing with. Even if it's like drama that I'm dealing with my family, or even dealing with, you know, with another friend, like, I just think that when we deal with certain situations, I feel like me and you know, went through a little rough patch at one point, and, you know, we were able to mend things and be, you know, adults about whatever happened between us, because we, you know, were able to, like, work through that together. Right. And I think ultimately, like, when it comes to, you know, someone being insecure, you're gonna make it worse by, you know, disclosing personal information. And again, you know, like I said, even with us, like, speaking publicly about our past relationships, I feel like nobody should ever feel attacked or feel like we're speaking about them directly. Like, me and you are just on here literally talking about life experiences. So guess what? If you ever experience life with us at some point, whether it be friends or more, like, we may bring it up, because guess what? This is us sharing our experiences and what we've learned from it.
And that's the thing. I do radio. And
right.
I speak what I feel comfortable with speaking. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna let someone dictate what I feel comfortable speaking on. If I feel that I'm talking my part of the story, or if I feel like I'm telling just what I feel, what I went through, you shouldn't get offended by it, because one thing I'm not gonna do is disrespect you unless you deserve it, like I did with the last episode. You know what I'm saying? Which I'm not gonna go back to because there's no point to, but. There's certain things that I will say, and maybe later I'll be like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But I will never call someone out for their name if I didn't really feel that. You know what I'm saying? Right. I do radio, so for me, a lot of the times my life is out there. If you dated me, you should have known better. That's just it. You know what I'm saying? You dated me, you should have known better, because I'm in entertainment, and I'm also not these fake people that, like, you know, that show something that they're not. I was that at some point when I was dealing with domestic violence. I can tell you right now, I was faking the funk. I was not being myself, and that's true. And I've owned up, you know, to that. But one thing for me is, you will for sure always get, you know, the authentic me. And sometimes it's going to be good. Sometimes it's going to be shitty, and sometimes you're not going to agree with it. But at the end of the day, you should respect that I'm giving you the honesty. And I think you need to feel that too with whoever, you know, is feeling some type of way. Let them, you know what I'm saying? This is your career. This is your platform, and you're going to use that however you want to. You're doing this with good intentions, because that's what we chose to do with the Ladies Lounge. This is what we're doing with the Ladies Lounge. We're giving people our opinion to help people, not to sit here and just be chismosas. Trust me, we will get into that chismosa shit at some point, but we're mostly doing it to fucking help other people. And if you don't like it, then guess what? There's many podcasts you can listen to. You know what I'm saying? All of these things that we mentioned, some of the things that you mentioned, I was like, shit, you know, I remember going through those things. Some of the things I mentioned, I still have to remind myself of those things in my relationship. You know, like, I do have to keep these things in mind. So I hope that you guys took something from this podcast. I'm assuming this episode, I gotta stop saying podcast. I hope you guys took something from this episode, because we are literally giving you what we have been through. You know what I'm saying? Based on our experiences. So again, make sure you guys follow us on all social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Hey, I don't have a OnlyFans page yet, but I don't know. I'm taking. Angie at some point could have one. That's gonna be.
I might need to. Need to.
Hey, I would not judge you if you ever decided to do it.
Because you're a real one. Because you're a real one, and you got my back no matter what, right or wrong.
Yes, I will tell you though, if your clapping is off a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. Good looking.
I got you. But yeah, I feel at the end of the day, like, if you like what we got going on, just know that we're going to continue to give you the most authentic us. And this is actually our friendship. This is legit us talk. If you would have heard us have a whole conversation, you would be like, this is a whole fucking podcast in itself. This is just us being us, and we hope that you appreciate it, and we hope that you become friends with us, because that's what we want again. We want to help you. If you want to hit us up with questions, do so. Let them know our platforms.
All right, so Instagram is Ladies Lounge Podcast, and my personal handle is @SheIsLina Rodriguez. And I mean, that's pretty much, I use Instagram for the most part. You can find me on Twitter as @SheIsLina_. But yeah, I mean, I'm here to, you know, like you said, share life experiences. And, you know, I hope this doesn't scare any, like, I hope my future husband hears this and he's like, all right, I know what I'm signing up for. So he knows he better act right.
They got to learn. It's the exes that you ain't got to worry about because you don't know them nothing. Okay?
Well,
Okay?
I will say this just for like, just because, you know, I'm working on being a better person. I absolutely have nothing but love for anybody that I have been friends with or have had relationships with, because, you know, we have all gone through relationships and been like, damn, like that person was really dope, but, you know, whatever. Doesn't have to be any issues. It's all love. But there's definitely some. Please don't hit me up. Please just don't hit me up, because everybody.
It's a cue for you to call me. This isn't
that trigger.
Slide in my DM. Yeah, don't let that trigger you.
Trigger girl. So anyway, but yeah, we appreciate you guys listening and the support and the messages. And I mean, no question is off limits. So whatever you guys want to know, please hit us up and let us know.
Yes. Thank you guys. See you till next time.
Bye.